Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 16 of the 24 Giro d'Italia, brought to you by Bicycle, the largest global marketplace for pre-owned bikes. With over 20,000 high-quality pre-owned and refurbished bikes available, Bicycle connects the buyers and sellers to make the process of buying and selling bikes safe, easy, and convenient. Sellers, remember to use the code ButterflyEffect24 for 0% seller fee. Now let's get into today's remarkable stage 16 of the Giro d'Italia. Remember, Tadej Pogacar's won 4 stages here at the Giro d'Italia. He's wearing the pink jersey. You're like, Chris, we all know that. Of course you do. But what you don't know is the stage got canceled in terms of distance. They didn't cancel the stage, they reduced the stage. And they're arguing between the organizers here at the Giro and the riders themselves are getting all upset with the CPA, jumping in and backing up the riders to finally get them to reduce the stage, because we see Alberto Contador sitting up on the first mountain climb here on what was originally going to be stage 16, the first climb. Well, not originally, because they changed it from the Stelvio back there more than a week ago to the new climb. Now it's snowing up there on Alberto Contador. There's no way you can go over the climb. I don't know what the organizers are thinking right here. You just have to cancel the first part of the stage and then start later. Tadej Pogacar says, well, I want to go with starting later is what the Slovenian's thinking and what he really wants to say. But what he says too is that, of course, he can start and do the whole stage. It's not going to make a whole lot of difference to him. It's not. Whenever you're the best rider in the world, it's not going to make the big difference under bad conditions for the best rider, unless, of course, it's slippery or they crash. But most likely, he's always puts himself in a good place in the peloton. Going down the descents, he's so strong, his team's strong enough to close the gap to a few riders in front of him if they were to risk something going down the descent. So Tadej Pogacar knows, and he could be paid to show up here at the Giro d'Italia, so he's being careful with his words, there's no doubt about it. We look at Adam Blythe, he's saying the stage should be canceled. Man, come on, Adam Blythe, you can't cancel the stage. It's easy to see what to do on this stage. You start in the valley and you go up the final 35 kilometers of today's stage for sure. How far in the valley you want to start, you can argue with a little bit, but in my mind, the way they started this stage 16 was proper. 120 kilometers to go, they started. Remember, it was 206 to begin with when the riders woke up this morning, and they were standing around in the pouring rain with just tents over them, freezing. The buses were gone. Luckily, a couple buses there for Bora Hansgrohe hung around, so those guys can get warm. But when the cameras come on and starts racing proper, we see it at kilometer 0. The first attack's going up the road. That's Frigo. Marco Frigo there from Israel Premier Tech. He's going up solo. This guy's flying up the road. He's going to stay up there for 20 kilometers. But when I back the film up, look at Gesink here, Simon Geske here, that's doing a fabulous job of following all the tacks for Kofidis so they don't have to spend all day chasing. Simon Geske right here was doing a fantastic job. They'll bring back Frigo though. Everything will be compact and back together with 20 kilometers from the start of the race, so we got about 100 kilometers to go. We see 6-7 rider break go up the road. Now we start seeing the strategy here on today's stage 16 and how one team can control and affect the race. They can't decide if they're going to win the race, but any team can control the first part of a race. And right now we see it's Movistar on the front, and they're all lined up there. They're going to have their sprinter up there, Gaviria, and his lead-out man, Chimolai. Those guys are going to be controlling the peloton, but we're going to see 4 riders go up the road. Julian Alaphilippe's going up with about 88 kilometers to go. He's got Ballerini with him. He's got Piccolo with him from EF Education and Mikko Maestri there from Polti Cometa. Those 4 riders are going to start to get a gap on the Movistar train behind. Now, if I back the film up where I told you the original 6-7 guys attacked and we saw Movistar in the front, they're affecting the race. You know at this moment what their MO is going to be. They're going to bring it all the way into the last 35 kilometers and then they're going to try to win the stage. It's not a difficult tactic. It's actually a fantastic tactic to employ because we already know Nairo Quintana's riding good, and we know Einar Rubio's up on the general classification. Peleos Sanchez, their third rider, that's a possible chance at winning today's stage here. He's a threat to be able to win if you can get him into the last mountain part of this stage 16 too. So Movistar are controlling the race. Any team, remember, any team can control this style course from the beginning with 120 kilometers to start with all the way into 35 kilometers to go before it starts climbing. Any team, I don't care which team you pick, they can control it. So when you see Julian Alaphilippe in this group of 4 up here with Ballerini and the other 2 riders, Julian Alaphilippe, I don't like this move. I know what you're doing. I'm not opposed to it. Nobody's a knucklehead here for sure, but I don't like it because you already saw the MO of Movistar. So if they're going to chase, that means you're going to start the final climb here with 35 kilometers to go. There's actually 2 climbs. The second climb, the penultimate one, it's not that steep, but it's super long, and then it gets really steep for the last 5 kilometers. We're talking 7% sections. And then the final climb after the descent with about 12 kilometers to go, they'll go into the final climb with 7 kilometers. It's not that difficult from 7 until 2 kilometers to go, but the last 2, switchbacks and 11%. So Julian Alaphilippe, if you're going to start the final 35 kilometers of today's race with only a minute gap, it's probably not a very good strategy, but you are Julian Alaphilippe. You have won a stage here to the Giro d'Italia. So when I'm texting my home skillets, I'm saying this is a great scenario if the old Julian Alaphilippe's here, because I don't think UAE team members are going to ride back there, but I don't think it's a great scenario unless you're 100% amazing like that 2019 Julian Alaphilippe form that we saw. Because when I look at the peloton back there, if UAE Emirates aren't going to chase, we start looking at Ineos. Ineos don't have a strong climbing squad here. They have Arensman and they have Geraint Thomas, but there's not a ton of depth outside of them because Magnus Sheffield crashed in the individual time trial. Tobias Foss isn't riding good. We start looking at Bora Hansgrohe back there. Of course, they have a GC guy here with Danny Martinez, but he's not going to want to get isolated and pull Julian Alaphilippe away up the road. So they lost Lipovitz. They don't have guys' depth to really help Danny Martinez into this deep into the stage 16 after the first 35 kilometers start getting into it proper. And we start looking at other teams. Nobody's really stacked with a ton of pressure back there. So when I'm texting my friends, I'm like, okay, if the old 2019 Julian Alaphilippe form shows up, he could win today's stage. But otherwise, with Movistar back there pulling and setting the MO there of wanting to bring everything back together and attack somewhere up the climb here, Julian Alaphilippe will most likely get caught unless he's spectacular. As we see the group of 4 hit the climb with about a minute gap, Julian Alaphilippe lights everything up. This move he has to employ right here because there's no other option. The guys with him, Ballerini, Maestri, Piccolo, they're not good climbers. So we see all 3 riders get dropped at just about the same moment with about 3 or 4 second intervals between each one of them. Then Julian Alaphilippe's going solo. We go back and we look at the peloton. Movistar's on the front, but let me back it up just a little bit because Gaviria was driving it hard into the final 35 kilometers of this stage. Then he comes off the front. We start seeing Torres on the front. We'll see Will Barta, the American rider riding for Movistar. He'll ride the front some too. But when you look at Julian Alaphilippe, if he had 2019 form, can Will Barta actually bring the time down on a Julian Alaphilippe? And can Peleo Sanchez, can riders like Nairo Quintana bring back time on Julian Alaphilippe? I'm sitting on the Chesterfield texting with my homies, and I'm like, guys, this actually could work out pretty good for Julian Alaphilippe. Not a tactic I would have employed, especially when I saw Movistar riding all day, but he's in this situation now. You got to go for it. So Julian Alaphilippe's going full gas. He's getting up to under 20 kilometers to go. He's still solo up there. We start looking back at the peloton at 20 kilometers to go. Peleo Sanchez throws in attack. Oh, okay, Peleo Sanchez throwing an attack. I'm okay with that. We all expected Movistar to start attacking. They throw it in with Peleo Sanchez. I thought it'd be Nairo Quintana. I thought it'd be Ainar Rubio, but it's Peleo Sanchez. He's going up the road. He's catching the remnants of the group that was getting dropped back there, like Ballerini and other riders that were with Julian Alaphilippe originally. He's got Pietro Bone and stuff with him occasionally. But we see Peleo Sanchez as he's up there with about 17 kilometers to go, and it's Movistar chasing him. It's Nairo Quintana on the front of the peloton, sitting there with Ainar Rubio on his wheel. Now I'm completely lost. Okay, I'm completely lost at this moment what Movistar are thinking because Peleo Sanchez is up the road. I thought, okay, you send Peleo Sanchez up the road. If he's got really good form, he could possibly bridge across to Julian Alaphilippe, whose gap's at around 40 seconds at times. But why are they chasing him? Why is Nairo Quintana back there and pulling the peloton along chasing Peleo Sanchez? I thought, okay, and the second possible scenario would be they launch Ainar Rubio when the peloton eases up. Ainar Rubio bridges across. Maybe Nairo Quintana did before he started pulling on the front of the peloton. And they bridge across to Peleo Sanchez and they work together. So you have a little satellite rider up there. But Nairo Quintana's on the front. Well, we see Nairo Quintana and he's pulling back everybody. And then we see Peleo Sanchez. He looks back, taps his hips, and he's telling Nairo Quintana to hop on. He starts riding the front. I was like, Wow, that was the weirdest thing I've ever seen right there. Well, not really, because it's Movistar. They're always doing strange things. So Peleo Sanchez going full gas. Nairo Quintana is going to blow hard, go to the left and pull out. That's going to leave 2 Movistars at the front. Same time about that, where Nairo Quintana is dropping off, Bardet is going to start having some problems from DSM. Luckily for Romain Bardet, right now he's got 2 teammates in front of him that are pacing him hardcore as he's starting to lose time to the GC favorites. Julian Alaphilippe is still solo up there, and he's got the suffer face going on from about 17 kilometers and thereunder for the rest of this stage. Julian Alaphilippe, the Frenchman, is going to have ugly faces the whole time. We look just behind, we see Peleo Sanchez, he was still pulling out the front. Then we start seeing his leader there, Einar Rubio. Rubio starts pulling off, and Peleo Sanchez ends up going back up the road again. Guys, he attacked at 20 kilometers. Now we're at about 14 kilometers to go. Peleo Sanchez is again solo when it was his teammates that chased him down, Nairo Quintana. Well, Peleo Sanchez, he's going solo, but he's got some company. As we see, there's Ewan Costou up there from Arkea Samsic, and Scaroni made it across to him. Now Peleo Sanchez doesn't have any luck. He starts having some kind of gear problem. I don't think it's the front. Could be the front, could be the back, but it's having problems. I think it's the rear mechanism back there with the derailleur. We'll see Peleo Sanchez get off his bike. He'll start messing around with his gears. He gets back on, but all the GC guys have passed by him. He'll find his way back up there by the top of the KOM. But as we look up front, we see that there's a third guy that replaced Peleo Sanchez, who dropped out. That's Giulio Pellizzari right there from Bardiani. He bridged across. Now we got 3 guys chasing Julian Alaphilippe at about a 20-15 second gap. We're going to hit up to the top of the KOM with 12 kilometers to go. It's Julian Alaphilippe, the Frenchman, pseudo quick step going over to the top solo. And I'm sitting on Chesterfield thinking, you got to bomb this descent. Frenchman, you got to be spectacular. It's been raining. It's been cold. They have canceled the stage. They have altered the stage. Now you've been up here all day long in the breakaway. You're going solo on this final climb. You got to take the risk going down the descent. We see him cutting the corners there, the right corner next to the building. Then we see him shooting through the tunnel. He's doing 65 kilometers an hour down a wet, miserable, cold descent where he'd been shaking out his hands left and right trying to get some blood flow. The riders behind going over the top of the KOM, that was 3. Scaroni went over second place because they're always interested in KOM points from Astana. So Scaroni goes over second, Christian that is. Then we'll see Ewan with him, and we'll see Pellizzari on his wheel. Those 3 riders are dropping down. What happened in the peloton when those riders started going up the road? Well, UAE team members took over the front with one fantastic Domin Novak. Domin Novak's first, leading the peloton. Then we see Rafał Majka and Tadej Pogačar. They'll go over the top of the KOM like that, and we'll see Domin Novak lead the descent there for Tadej Pogačar, trying to keep his race leader's pink jersey safe going all the way down the descent. And now when you're sitting on the Chesterfield, you know UAE team members, Tadej Pogačar has a chance at winning a 5th Giro d'Italia stage here. Once the next climb starts with about 7 kilometers to go, Julian Alaphilippe still solo, but the 3 riders are coming up behind him quick. Julian Alaphilippe, the Frenchman, sees him coming. He gets wrapped up with about 4 or 5 kilometers to go. Once there's 4 guys up front, the magic's out. They're playing a little bit of games. Nobody's wanting to pull. Scaroni's suffering a little bit. He wants some help. Ewan Costou suffered a little bit. He wants some help. Pellizzari there, Giulio Pellizzari, he's looking okay. But the Frenchman, Julian Alaphilippe's been sitting on since he got caught. Now we're coming into about 3 kilometers to go. The Frenchman gets on the front and he pulls for about 500 meters all out and then blows and drops out of this group of 3. Now we look at the peloton behind. Domin Novak did a fantastic job, rotated from the front, dropped off. It's time for Rafał Majka to go to work on this last and final climb here at stage 16 of the Giro d'Italia. With Rafał Majka on the front, Tadej Pogačar sitting second. We look behind him. Geraint Thomas is there, our Ensman's there, Danny Martinez is there, and Tiberi is there. Tiberi from Bahrain Victorious is there, and it's got a teammate with Caruso there. Now, when we start going back up front, we have one last little bit of a descent, and we go into a right turn. We see Ewan Costou's got a little bit of lead there, and Pellizzari there, he makes a mistake and opens up the gap on Ewan Costou as the Frenchman from Arkea Samsic will start the last and final 2 kilometers of today's stage 16 with a little bit of gap, and once he gets the gap, we see it's all switchbacks and super steep, over 11% sections, all the way up to the finish of today's stage 16. So Ewan Costou's throwing everything into the pedal as he hits the first left bend. He's got a gap back there, and Pellizzari Pellizzari, but Pellizzari's got a gap on Scaroni. Scaroni from Astana is getting dropped off the back. Pellizzari is going to bridge up to you and Costu, and it's not going to take him but a few pedal strokes to get rid of the Frenchman. Now we look further down. What happened is they went into that last and final right turn there where we saw you and Costu get the gap. Well, we see a little rush from the peloton. It's Bahrain Victorious, and they're coming around Tadej Pogačar. He's about 4th, 5th position, but it's his teammate on the front. That's Rafael Majka coming into this right turn. Rafael Majka hits the right turn, starts accelerating hard when this climb starts going steep. Then we got Rafael Majka on the front. We start looking at the back of the peloton GC favorites. It starts blowing up back there from the speed of Rafael Majka as we see Ben O'Connor's having some problems, but he's got teammates around him. Then look further up the road in front of Ben O'Connor. That's Geraint Thomas up there. G. Thomas is starting to slip. And then we start going to the front here pick as we're getting into 1.4 kilometers to go. Up front, we see that Pellizzari's still going solo up there. Then we look back. It's Rafael Majka going into that 1.4 kilometers. Rafael Majka will pull off hard right. When he's pulling off hard right, he looks down as he looks back to see what's happening back there. Tadej Pogačar sitting in the saddle, and it started to increase the pace. The same time that we saw Rafael Majka pull off hard to the right, we see Danny Martinez can't handle the pressure either, as Danny Martinez was sitting third wheel just behind Tadej Pogačar. He's moving to the right, looking down too, because he needs some help. Then we see Tadej Pogačar. He's flying on the pedals, did not even get out of the saddle. And we see him right away as he's coming up behind Scaroni. He catches Scaroni quickly. We see the guy running next to him there in the red jersey, in the red jacket, excuse me, as that fan is running alongside Tadej Pogačar. Tadej Pogačar will catch the next drop right up front, you and Costu, right away with about 1.2 kilometers, 1.1 kilometers to go. He's got you and Costu there, and we see the fan still riding next, still running next to Tadej Pogačar. As Tadej Pogačar solo, then with about 1.1 kilometers, 1K to go, we see that Tadej Pogačar has in sights Pellizzari. With 900 meters to go, he's going to start wrapping up Pellizzari, and it's going to take him about 100 or 200 meters to go. And Pellizzari is going to open up the gap there to the back wheel of Tadej Pogačar. The Slovenian is going solo. We look further down the climb. What was happening? Danny Martinez, he got gapped back there from the first initial acceleration from Tadej Pogačar, but he's still fighting. He's catching the remnants of the guys that Tadej Pogačar just passed as he comes up there to Scarponi. Then he comes up to you and Costu. He's going by those guys. And then what's happening? Well, our Ensman's back there in the gap between Danny Martinez and Tiberi. Tiberi back there is trying to bring back our Ensman. They're racing for the white jersey here, the youth jersey, as Tiberi's on the front pulling full gas. Geraint Thomas has found his way back into the group here, but he's swinging. Caruso, the teammate there, Tiberi is still here from Bahrain Victorious, but he can't help out. He's at the back, so Tiberi has to ride the front. Tiberi will pull back our Ensman as we get a little bit deeper into the stage 16. Then we start going up front. It's the last final few hundred meters here for Tadej Pogačar, still sitting in the saddle. He'll come around the last left turn with 75 meters to go. He's going to sit up, and he's going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 victories here at the Giro d'Italia. Stage wins for the Slovenian Tadej Pogačar as he crosses the win and adds more time to the pink jersey general classification here for the Slovenia. Behind, what happened? Well, Giulio Pellizzari there rounds out for second because he got caught by Danny Martinez. And when they went up to the final, Giulio Pellizzari there threw in a huge acceleration to take time bonuses away from Danny Martinez, who finished third and round out the podium here. Geraint Thomas lost some time. Tiberi and our Ensman finished more or less close to each other, with our Ensman losing just a few seconds to Tiberi, but Geraint Thomas finished behind them. And then Ben O'Connor lost time on today's race, and we see a bunch of the other riders like Einar Rubio losing time. So when we're all wrapped up, not much change in the top 10 of the general classification except for second and third. Geraint Thomas dropped back one spot to third. Danny Martinez jumps over the British rider from Ineos to take second place back here at the Giro d'Italia on the podium when we start going into the later mountain stages. But everybody else in the top 10 held about status quo there, with Tiberi having a fine ride to gain a few more seconds on our Ensman. And if you remember right, our Ensman tried to throw in an attack on Tiberi, but our Ensman didn't wait for Geraint Thomas, and Geraint Thomas lost that second place to move into third here at the end of today's stage 16. Today's stage. Afterwards, we're going to see there that Tadej Pogačar is approached there from Pellizzari. Pellizzari's asking the Slovenian for his sunglasses. The Slovenian's like, no problem, hands him his sunglasses, then takes off his stage-winning, 5th stage-win victory here in pink, takes off his jersey. As you can see, Pellizzari is ecstatic right here for getting the Slovenians 5th race-winning stage jersey here, and pink nonetheless from the Giro d'Italia. I gotta say, as a consolation prize for not winning the stage, I think at this moment, I'd be happier with Tadej Pogačar's pink jersey right there than if Tadej Pogačar had eased up and given me the stage win. I think getting second up here for Pellizzari and then getting the race leader's pink jersey from Tadej Pogačar to hang up on your wall for the rest of your life and tell a story to every one of your friends that come over as you say, I got second to Tadej Pogačar up here, and here's the pink jersey, and here's the story to go along with it. It was a fantastic moment right there from the Slovenian. Tadej Pogačar's always got a nice, kind heart, and you see where he hands over the jersey there, Pellizzari. He's got a story for life to tell here at the Giro d'Italia, Stage 16. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. We're telling stories is what I'm all about up here on the Butterfly Effect, and I'll see you guys on the next edition for Stage 17 of the Giro d'Italia real soon.